Hello dear learners, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are going to talk about AOP implementations. So far, we have covered a lot of topics on AOP. Like, we have spoken about introduction to AOP, AOP concepts, wherein we had spoken about different concepts like aspects, advice, point cards, join points, target, proxy. So there were a lot of concepts that we had spoken about when we, discussed the AOP concepts. Then we had also spoken about the various types of advices, wherein we had seen before method, after method, around advices. So there were different types of advices that we had seen and their different implementations. Okay. In today's video, we will be talking about implementations of AOP. Now, AOP can be implemented in various ways, and the most common implementations these days. Next that we will be needing is going to be a target class, which in our case is going to be the car class. We have already seen an example on Spring and Maven in one of our previous videos. If you, in case you have not seen those videos, please you can check my whole playlist here. I'll be sharing my playlist here wherein you can see that particular videos. Now, so as I said earlier, our target class is going to be the same car class that we have been writing and its implementation. Further, we will be needing a advice class for the AOP advice implementation, and we'll be using the class called as before method class. This particular class will implement the method before advice interface is what this particular class will implement. Also, we will have to configure the Spring proxy bean, for which we will be configuring the proxy factory bean class. This is the package for it. org.springframework.aop.framework.proxy factory bean. So this is the class that we need to configure in our code. So this is needed. Along with this particular class, we have two properties inside this class that we'll have to configure. One is the target property, which we'll set to car. Now car is basically the reference of the car bean that we'll define in the XML file. And we will need an interceptor's name property, which is basically a list, and we will be mentioning before method inside it. This is basically the name of the bean class that we will be defining here. So this is again a reference of the bean class that you have here. Okay, so we will need these two properties to be defined. So this is the configuration that we will need for our code to work. So let's quickly get onto the code and see how this whole example works. Okay, and as I said earlier, we'll be implementing the before method advice here. So we will be starting with this pom.xml file. And this is the example that we've already created before, a Spring Maven project, wherein we had created a car class, tire interface, and MRF tires, and we had seen various implementations of the different, test classes using class path, XML application context, and file system application context. In case if you've not seen this video, I'll share the link here, and you can check this particular video of how this whole project was created. Today, we will start with the pom.xml, wherein we will be adding one dependency for Spring AOP. So what I'll do is I'll just copy this particular dependency tag, paste it again, and I'll say this is going to be of course org.spring framework as we saw earlier in the slide. This is going to change to Spring-AOP, and we don't need to change the Spring version because we've already defined it to 5.0.0 release as we had seen in the slides. That is what we need. So we will not be changing this. We'll leave it as it is to Spring.version. So this configuration is done in our application context, in the pom.xml. The next thing that we need to do is we need to create the before advice class. So we will right click on our project and we'll say new and we'll say class, and we will be naming this as before method. You can name it as whatever you want. I am just naming it like this for relevance, and we are going to put it into com.learning.aop. Now this package is going to be important as well as the class name is going to be important, because when we'll configure the bean in the application context.xml file, we will need this. So that is what is needed. Another important thing that we'll be doing is we'll be implementing the interface here itself, the before method advice. As you can see here, we need the before method advice. If it is not visible here, you can even type it in search. You will automatically get, because we've added the dependency in the pom.xml file. So because we've added the dependency here, this will be automatically visible. Okay, so you can select method before advice and you can say OK. Also, make sure you're ticking the inherited abstract method, so automatically whatever method is declared inside the method before advice interface will be implemented in our code. So after doing this, we click on finish. So you can see this method before method is got created. for us. This is the method that the method before advice provides us, and this will execute before our business logic method. Here in our case, our business logic method is going to be car details method. Okay, so just before the car details method executes, this particular method will execute. That is how we are planning to do it. Okay, now I am not going to complicate this method too much, so I'll just simply write a sysout statement here, because our primary intention here is to understand how it works rather than what exact logic are we writing inside it. So we'll say sysout and we'll say welcome to AOP implementation. Okay. Now, as you can see, there are various parameters also available here. Method is there, which you can use to refer to the method attributes. You have target and you have object tasks. We are not going into the detail of all this. In case if you want the details of all these method parameters and what other implementations can we have except method before advice, you please mention them in the comment section, and I will create a video on the other implementations also, like after advice, around advice, and there are various different implementations that we have. So I'll create a videos on those too. Okay. So please mention them in the comment section if you want me to create a videos on those. So here as of now, I'm just writing a simple sysout statement that says welcome to AOP implementation. Once this is done, we need to configure this particular bean in the application context.xml file. So we'll come to application context and we'll say bean, we'll say id is equals to before method. You can name it as whatever you want. Again, I am naming it for relevance so that we can easily relate it to the actual class. I'll say class is equals to com.learning.aop. You remember we had given this particular package name, so we just need to give the same thing, and before method is what you need to mention here. Okay, and we can close the class here because we don't want to mention any properties or any constructors as such, so we can just close it here. The second thing that we need to configure is the proxy factory bean that we had. You remember in the PPT we had seen this particular proxy factory bean. So we need to configure this particular class along with its properties. So this is used for the whole viewing purpose, that we have one particular implementation class and we have a separate target class or a business logic class. How do you connect both of these? Okay, so for that we'll be using this particular proxy class. So the proxy class will do the job for us of bringing the advice class, which is before method in our case, and bringing the target class or the business logic class, which is car class in our case, and connecting them with each other, so that the before method that we have in the before method class executes before the car details method. If you remember, we have two methods here. In the before method class we have a before method, and in the car class we have the car details method. So I want to make sure that this before method executes before the car details method is executing. Okay, so that is how the whole logic is going to be. So what we'll do is we'll again say bean. Again, this is going to be a simple bean, and we'll name this particular bean, or we'll give it an ID as car proxy. Okay, and the class, as you have seen, is going to be org.spring framework. Okay, so it was org.spring framework.aop.framework.proxy factory bean. Okay, proxy factory bean. Okay, in case if you don't remember this whole name, what you can do is you can go here in the libraries section. If you go here in Maven dependencies, you will see there are a lot of libraries. You can go in Spring AOP and you can go in Spring AOP framework, and you can see here you will find that proxy factory bean class here. See, here is where the proxy factory bean is, and if you go further and see, you can see the various properties that are there. So one of the properties that we are going to use is the target or the target class, and the second is going to be the interceptor's name. So here you can see the interceptor's name and the target, right? So these are going to be the two properties that we'll use. Okay, now we'll close this here, and inside this we will define our property. So the first property, as you can see here, is going to be target, right? So we'll say property target property, and you have name as target, and you have ref because we're going to refer to an existing object. So we'll say ref is going to be car. So this is going to go and refer to this particular car bean. Okay, so this is going to be the car bean that it will refer to. Okay, the other property that we have is going to be interceptor's name. So I'll say interceptor's name. Okay, you just re-verify it. Interceptor names it is. Okay, so interceptor names, and inside this, okay, you will be having a list. So we'll be using a list, and inside list we will have to use the value attribute. That is how you define, whenever you have to define a list, this is how you define. Interceptor, I think the spelling is still wrong. Okay, now it's correct. Interceptor names, and here in the value we will be mentioning the name of the before method that we have, or the reference that we've created of the before method class. So I'll say before method, and I'll mention the value here. Okay, so this is what we'll be needing. Once this is done, so most of our things are done. Now what we only need to do is we need to create a test class to test this whole code, okay, whether it is working correctly or not. Okay, so what we'll do is we will right click here itself in the Spring Maven project, and we will right click and say new and say class, and we'll say AOP test. Okay, and it should contain a main is what we are saying, and we can remove this particular tick because we are not implementing any interface, and we can say finish. Now here again we'll be using the class path XML application context. So we'll say class path XML application context. Okay, AC is equals to new class path XML application context. Okay, and inside this we'll be mentioning the path. Okay, so here if you can see, this is how we'll be doing it. Okay, we'll say application context. So we'll say application context dot XML. Okay, once this is done, we will say AC dot get bean. Now usually we have been writing the name as car, right? We have been mentioning the name of the car object here, that is whatever name is here. Okay, but this time we'll be mentioning the name of the proxy. So rather than mentioning car, we'll be saying car proxy here. Okay, I'll say car proxy and a semicolon, and here this will go inside the car object. I'll say car is equals to, I'll typecast it to type car, and then finally car dot car details. Okay, so this will automatically go ahead and call the before method. Okay, so let's quickly try to run this particular code. So for running this particular code, we will just try to click here, and I think it should work. So or either you can even right click on AOP test and you can say run as Java application, and when you run this you should get the code. You can see here, first we are getting welcome to AOP implementation, which was implemented in the before method, and then we are getting the actual car details code. Again, as you can see, we have nowhere told here in the code that you are supposed to call the before method. All that configuration has happened here, okay, in the XML file, wherein we had mentioned that the interceptor is going to be the before method, and because the before method class is implementing method before advice, this is automatically executing before the actual method for which it is called. Okay, also you can see the target here is our car class, so this works for the car class. Okay, if you change the target here from car to car1, save this particular code, and again try to run the AOP test, you will see you have a different implementation. Right now it is showing tubed, it will show tubeless later on. Okay, so you can see it is showing tubeless now. So it is now calling a different implementation. So whatever you define here as a target, it will automatically work on that particular code. Okay, so this is an example of before method implementation and the traditional way of implementing the Spring AOP. If this is it for the day. If you like my videos, please click on the like button, share it with your friends, family. Please subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss on any of my videos. Also watch my videos end to end so that you're not missing on any smaller details, any configurations, anything, and you can gain the maximum knowledge. That is it for today. Thank you. Bye bye.